The Alpha Sessions.
We have Minna on today. My name is Grace Fellows. I am an artist also. My artist name is Towse, and we're here to talk about your journey and your songwriting and everything.
Hi.
So first of all, can you tell us a little bit about what brought you to music? If you studied it as a child, do you have a musical family, etc.?
Hi. Yeah, so I am one of 6 children, and my dad is also one of 6 children. So all in all, there's like 30 of us on that side.
Family.
I think I'd say, probably like 30% of that 30 are musical. And so there was always something playing. Like when I was younger, I'd wake up and I would be able to figure out who else had woken up based on what kind of piano was coming up through the floorboards. And so it's just always been around. And I always sang, always loved singing just the whole time. And then when I was at school, when I was sort of 17, 16, I was like, well, this is the only thing I want to do. I wasn't sure how to do it. I think I'm always going to be figuring that out. But I knew that was the only thing I wanted to do. So I then left school and moved to Spain, actually, where I lived for 2 years, and sort of taught myself guitar and songwriting and studied live performance and different things like that in Madrid. Came back to London when I was 21, and then the rest is history. Yeah, started releasing songs. And
Amazing, yeah. It's so great to grow up with, a musical family. It just feels so natural to start. And I saw that your most recent track, Birthday Song, came out very recently. Can you tell us about writing that song and how it was to record it? If you collaborated with anybody in the recording process?
Yeah, so Birthday Song was probably the most unique writing experience I've had so far, because normally when I write, it takes me a long time. And I just kind of spend hours and weeks and sometimes years over a song trying to get it right. And Birthday Song honestly came out in about a minute and a half. It was like I've been going out with someone for 4 years, and we'd broken up this time last year, and about a week later, fully immersed in the kind of sadness that comes after that kind of thing, I was playing with my guitar, and I think I just voice noted it just to see, if anything could happen. And I love these chords that I've been kind of playing around with, and the whole thing came out in one voice note. And I was like, whoa, where did that come from? Because that's just never happened before.
That's crazy.
It was amazing, actually, and it was really interesting because the song, for me, is almost like a burst of emotion, in the way that it's in the verses it's quite simple, and then the chorus is very similar to the verse. It's not that complicated, and the lyrics are very simple. It just is what it is, and it bursts out into the chorus and then kind of holds back a little bit in the second verse and then bursts out again, and then that's it. And it's not much more to it than that. So it sounds the way that it was when it came out, in the same kind of style, and so that's why I didn't want to change it very much from what happened on that voice note. So it's pretty true to that.
It feels like a stream of consciousness. It makes sense to hear that was the process in writing it. And that's amazing because, I've talked to a lot of songwriters, right? And sort of the fastest writing process I usually hear is maybe 20, 30 minutes. So to say that it was like 2 minutes that's insane. That's amazing.
It's weird because I think that the most interesting thing for me in the last 4 years has been just how to write music, because I don't know if there's any kind of set structure for anyone, and I think it's a different journey for everyone. And it's been a long journey for me. I mean, I'm always I'm perfectionist, and I always think that there's something more I could be doing, or is there a certain way that I could be approaching this, or is it 4 hours a day of this and then 5 hours of this, or what's the way? And then actually I'm beginning to realize it's kind of different every time.
It's so difficult to figure out where to put your time in as an artist.
It is. There's a really good book that I read. Well, I'm basically trying not to finish it because it's so good. It's called Daily Rituals, and it's the daily rituals of every great kind of artist, thinker, writer, scientist, anything.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's really interesting, from like the 1700s. And it just tells you like, it sort of tells you what they had for breakfast, like how many hours a day they would, see their friends or go for a walk or write. And it's fascinating because they're all so different. And yet the one consistent thing throughout every single person is that they're consistent routines.
That they have a routine. Yeah.
So I think that must be a telling thing.
And I think a lot of the books that I've heard recommended, like Writing Better Lyrics by Pat Pattison, The Artist Way, for example, these are two that a lot of songwriters recommend. Both of them put a strong emphasis on a morning daily writing ritual. Yeah. So I think I maybe need to get on that, but I'm
definitely not saying that I'm very good at it. But I have a feeling it does seem to help. But with Birthday Song, this was a unique one. And actually in the writing, I wrote it, I kind of continued it with this guy called Gus White, who's an amazing musician, producer. And I mean, the song went down a lot of different avenues. Like, I think at one point there was drums, and then there was like quite an intense harmonium solo, and then and it really did have a lot of different kind of chapters. And then towards the end we were like, no, it just has to be what it was in the beginning, which was probably really infuriating for him. But it just wasn't. It wasn't. Had to go back. And then actually the last thing that we did was put the fiddle in it. We got a guy called Duncan Mingus to record fiddle, and it really was the last kind of, we were going to send it off for the distribution, and I was happy with it, and then I was like, wait, quickly, he sent me this fiddle thing. And so we just put it in, and it worked really well.
Yeah, no, it's just kept that stripped back, intimate kind of feeling. And the fiddle adds like a little build, that weird slow burn, as I said earlier, which helps, like, it keeps the voice note feeling, but then just with it needs a bit of a thing.
And also it's the most important thing for me is that this is probably the song that's the closest to home that I've ever written. So very personal. And my family is originally from the Scottish borders, so most of my family live there, and I actually grew up in Derbyshire. But so anything that reminds me of that just hits home for me, and so that's why the fiddle's actually so important in this.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think this is probably my most Celtic kind of influenced song yet, so it's special, yeah. you said you don't know if you love me less. I was under the impression you'd come back. Now I'm really in a muddle. And I'm angry with you for letting me go. Oh, I'm angry with you for letting me go. 'Cause it's my birthday and we can't fall asleep on the phone. It's my birthday and we can't fall asleep on the phone. It's my birthday and we can't fall asleep on the phone. It's my birthday and we can't fall asleep on the phone.
The Alpha Sessions.
You have a track also in collaboration with Ash Radford. How was
Yeah.
it working with Ash? And also I saw that you have another collaboration track out from, was it last year or?
Oh yes, I do. That was so the first one, the one from last year, is a song called Brown Bread Ice Cream, which was written by a guy called Samuel Austin, sorry, it's his artist name, and he's an incredible artist, and we put that out together last year. And then the other one with Ash, actually, yeah, that came out like maybe a month ago. And that was great because I didn't know Ash, and then we met through working on this song, and then we just got on really well, and he wrote the song, so that's his song.
Okay,
so
yeah.
I was kind of lucky enough to be asked to be able to sing a verse of it, because, you know, it's a big thing if you write something and then you let someone come in and take your words and kind of
Absolutely.
sing them, you know, so that was really nice. But yeah, I love that song. It's
Awesome.
beautiful, and he's a great musician as well, Ash.
The duet, like, vibe definitely also
Yeah.
goes with, you know, the folk and Celtic sort of influence and country sort of influence that you have. So
Yeah.
makes total sense. It's like such a common thing in that genre and the history of that music.
I just think it's so much fun when you find someone and you find two voices and they just have this kind of special thing together, and you don't know until you put them together and you're like, oh my god, that's so interesting. And
I love it.
it's sort of, it's like almost, you know, it's kind of biological, or there's something to it that's, it's, I don't know, it's really fun, and then it's kind of addictive when you're singing.
Are there some duets that you really like to listen to?
Are there any duets that I really like that I like to listen to? There's a song that I really like called Rosalind, which is by Bon Iver, which is with St. Vincent. Have you heard it?
No, amazing combo though.
It's an amazing song. It's so good. And they're duetting, and it's really, really, I've actually sung this one with Ash. Oh. It's so beautiful.
And how do you know Ash? How is it collaborating?
So Ash, we share the same sort of management, and so Ash was looking for someone to sing on this song, and then someone kind of sent me his way, and then I think I actually just one or two of my songs ended up on his playlist going to sleep. Aww. So he messaged me and he was like, yeah, I've been, you know, listening to you going to sleep. I was like, oh, okay, well that's actually really nice.
That's sweet.
And then we just got on so well, and he's such a nice guy, and hopefully we're going to do a lot more together. But yeah, our music's kind of a similar sort of emotive kind of style, so it worked really well.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
But actually, when we were recording, our voices, we found out, were pretty similar. So that was a kind of an interesting thing to navigate, because he can sing very beautifully, you know, in sort of chest voice and head voice. And so when he was singing in head voice and I was singing in normal voice, they were really similar. So we were like, okay, what do we do?
You almost want the contrast.
Yeah, you kind of need it.
Yeah.
And actually, I think I recorded over his recording and it just sounded like the same voice. So we had to kind of figure it out. But that's an interesting thing to navigate as well.
Amazing.
But yeah.
So you have an exciting gig coming up this Saturday. Tell us about the gig, how you got it, how you met the artist that you're supporting.
Yeah, I've got my dream gig coming up, which is a crazy thing to be saying out loud. But I'm performing at Union Chapel. And if anybody doesn't know Union Chapel, it's just the most incredible venue. It's a beautiful church in Islington, right by the station, you know. And it's just so beautiful, and you can sit in these kind of church, you know, pews at the bottom on the ground floor, or you can go up and sit in these kind of up in the
gallery.
Is that what it's called? Yeah, I think that's it. And so when you're performing, you know, I remember going there a couple of months ago and seeing this guy called Joshua Burnside perform. He's an amazing Irish artist, and I just remember looking at him, look at us, and looking at him, look out and look up, and I just was like, God, I think I can imagine what he's feeling, and I think it's great, because I could just imagine this sort of amazing thing when you've got people sitting up and then down. But I don't know, because I am Catholic as well, so maybe that would add something to it, but I think it's just amazing for anyone. And yeah, I wrote on notes on my phone, dream equals Union Chapel, and now it's it's happening. It's crazy. I'm supporting an incredible artist called Izzo Fitzroy, who's actually my cousin, so which is an added incredible thing. Yeah, so she's of the family, us two are the two who kind of are pursuing music, and then other people different things, but she's amazing, really amazing. She performs with the sort of incredible gospel choir, and then she plays the electric guitar and the piano really beautifully, and that's just going to be an amazing thing in itself. And I'll be performing before her with a great artist called Clara Popel doing harmonies, and a guy called Ollie Clark playing the guitar. And yeah, it's very exciting.
So great.
So exciting.
Good luck.
Thank you.
What's your favorite aspect of the many hats that we have to wear as artists? I think everyone kind of has their thing, if it's songwriting, performing, recording. Which one do you feel like you connect with the most?
Yeah, it's interesting, because it's kind of always changing a little bit. I actually used to find performing, weirdly, was the last thing that was on my list, which I know is very different for other people. I think there are a lot of people who don't really necessarily write, and they love the performance aspect, and that's where they like really shine. And I was kind of the opposite way. In the beginning, I just didn't get it, but I think I was just very nervous. But writing has always been the thing that has attracted me to being a musician. So it started off with just writing poetry, and everything really, just everything I did, every kind of journey that I would go on or anything would end up in some kind of poem and then some kind of song. And then came the kind of interest in melody and chords and playing and guitar, which came later, and now performing. But I think my favourite of the hats would be the writing hat. But with performing, sometimes that's the most incredible thing, and sometimes it's not at the top, but that changes every time, which is like an added thing which is always interesting. You know, it's always changing.
I love asking this question to artists. It's like my favorite thing to know. So you have a plan to walk across Spain and bring your guitar and write? Tell us about this idea.
I do have. So I was actually supposed to be doing that kind of now or like tomorrow. And then I got the Union Chapel gig and I, you know, obviously changed everything. But so next Friday I'm flying out to France, south of France, and then walking to a place called Santiago de Compostela. And it's a pilgrimage. So people do it from all around the world for all kinds of reasons. And it's a great thing. So you walk from wherever you want. You know, you can go from wherever. The main thing is that you end up in Santiago, and you kind of stop off along the way at monasteries and churches and meet lots of people, or maybe not, but it's a thing where it doesn't really have any set kind of routine or set kind of instruction for what you do. You just do it and you kind of adapt it to whatever you want. So I'm going to be doing it on my own and starting off in France and then going down through the Pyrenees and then along the north of Spain. So I'll be going through kind of Pamplona, and that's the only city that's coming to mind right now. But I'll be going along through there, but you can choose your route. Some people go from Portugal, some people go along the coast, but yeah, I wanted to do the French way. And yeah, I want to write an album about it, or to be realistic, probably an EP, because it's about 5 hours of walking a day, or more or less. That, again, you can kind of decide at the time. But yeah, I want to write 4 or 5 songs kind of inspired by a pilgrimage, for pilgrims, by pilgrims, you know, and have that be a little kind of bundle that comes from this adventure, and I'm really excited about it. Yeah.
Little storytelling, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because a lot of my music, well, my first EP, the last song on my first EP comes out at the end of this month. And, you know, as a general, you know, overview, it's pretty introspective. It's very kind of, I mean, yeah, it just is. And I sat up a couple of months ago and I was like, well, I love that aspect of my writing, and I don't want that to go anywhere, but I don't want that to be the only thing. I also really love traveling, and I've ended up going on some weird adventures because of gigs. So like last May, I sang at the top of a mountain in Bulgaria.
Okay.
At this festival. And I was like, yeah, I have to start writing about these things because it's just fun and it's fascinating. And then I thought, well, I'd love to combine these little mini articles that I'm doing with music. I don't want them to be separate. So I thought, okay, well, I think I'd like to start releasing EPs, or, you know, little collections of songs from my travels. And so the first one coming out separately from my second EP is from this road trip that I did in America in October. And I just realized the second I started working on this kind of new project how much fun it is to just tell stories that aren't introspective, and sometimes they might be, you know, intertwined, but it felt very timeless. It felt like something that I was really proud to be writing, and it just opened up this whole new thing. So I've got this new song coming out called Breakfast on the Rocks, and it's literally about traveling in Utah and camping and meeting these 2 strangers at 7 a.m. in the morning, and they gave us beer and breakfast, which they like cooked on the rocks, and they told us about their lives, and they had been outlawed. It's a weird word to use, but that's what they said. Outlawed from their town. Their town had rejected them for reasons that weren't really their faults, and they were really nice, and we sat from like 7 a.m. till 12 just talking.
That sounds like a story you would hear in like 1860.
It was
not
really
modern, you know what I mean?
It was kind of amazing, and they ended up teaching me like self-defense, and it just was a very interesting morning. And then I was writing about it, and I was like, this has to be a song. And so that's my first song from this particular travel. And Anyway, very long-winded, but I'm going to try and do a similar thing on the pilgrimage. Struggled at noon, but that was overdue. I always knew you'd find your way back through. Doubtless you're out there in that old familiar mood, bespangled with your blues in your shiny leather shoes. Oh, when I sank, you scurried the borders you to roam out in this complex kind of flurry. Oh, I hope you find home. Though it pains me to say that I'm sorry, but it's true. Well, you only look my way when the others looked at you. Goes to show what you didn't want to lose. And did you only really care what my brother thought of you? Oh, when I sank, you scurried the borders you to roam out in this complex kind of flurry. Oh, I hope you find home. The borders you to roam out in this complex kind of flurry. Oh, I hope you find home.
The Alpha Sessions.
You showed us some of your upcoming music, which is a little bit more arranged, fleshed out, upbeat, I guess, whatever.
Yeah, it's a little bit.
So what's that project?
Yeah, so I showed you guys, so I actually just sung a song called Noon, which is, that's coming out on my second EP. And actually that's probably the slowest one, because the second EP is actually almost done now as well, which is really exciting. But that one is almost the slowest of them, because generally it's getting faster. It's sort of out of your control. It's just naturally getting a lot faster. And that just might be where I'm at now. It might slow right down in a year's time and be kind of, even slower than before. But at the moment it's becoming a little bit more country influenced, a little bit more kind of rootsy. There's a lot of banjo. I've always had a lot of mandolin, but we're transitioning from mandolin to banjo. And just a bit more fast paced, which feels good.
Awesome.
It feels like it's quite funny, because you can sometimes tell what stage of life you're in, well, almost always, from what you're writing, because it's like you write the song and then you look at what you've written and you're like, oh, that's how I'm doing.
Exactly.
Or like, that's what's going on with me. Cool, I didn't realise,
Yeah, it's like I don't know, it's a key into your subconscious, I guess, being a songwriter.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of fascinating.
Do you have a time frame for the second EP yet?
Yes, so I don't know at which point Noon is coming out, but Breakfast on the Rocks, which is the first one, is coming out at the end of June.
Ooh, soon, exciting.
Yeah, it's really exciting. So the final song of the first EP is coming out this April, on the 29th. And typically it still needs to have a little last minute fiddle change. It seems to be a reoccurring thing. But yeah, hopefully the 29th as things stand. And then
quite soon.
Very soon.
And once again, it'll come out while you're traveling.
And it's going to come out when I'm traveling, but I am just going to have to figure that one out. I wonder if I can do a thing where I pre-save it and then it will just, I don't know, not very pilgrimagey to sort of shoot off.
Make the TikTok.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna have to figure out how to do that one. But quite nice for it to come out while I'm away, because every time a new song comes out, it's weird. It's like a shedding of a skin, but also like a growing of a tail at the same time. It's like a whole new. It's a really good feeling.
Yeah.
Every time. I mean, you must have the same thing when you release something that you have been working on for a really long time, and it almost sounds different. I don't know if you've had that. I had that with Birthday Song. I was, in the week up to the release, I was like, always going over whether I think things are as good as they can be.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the second it's out there, you're like, no, it just sounds right. And yeah.
That's amazing to have that confidence about your work. Not everybody has that, I think.
Don't always have it. Definitely don't always have it, but I think that it's funny, that goes in waves. I've definitely gone through moments in the last 4 years where I've worked with certain people, or I've been in a certain headspace, and I've slightly maybe been a bit influenced by social media, and you get a bit kind of locked into this thing that it requires of you, supposedly, and then you start making things for the wrong, so they're not really coming from the right place. And I've been there, and then you start writing things and they're not really what you. It's just kind of diluted. It's a diluted version of what you want. It's a diluted version of what anybody else might want to hear.
Yeah.
And it's so good when you kind of catch yourself doing it, and then you realise. Then you get back to this place of just writing what you want to write, no matter what,
It's good. It's so hard these days, I think, to like put your blinders on and just make what you want to make. There's so much input. I
know, but it's funny because I used to be really, I think a lot of musicians have a social media thing.
Yeah.
And I used to definitely have that thing, but I realised more, recently more than ever, that it's actually just can be so great, because it's this great
like a creative thing itself. Yeah,
if you start learning to love it, then you're using it for the right reasons, and if you fight it, sounds like a sort of weird villain, but like if you fight it, then you're wasting your time using it, and it's not going to really work.
That's exactly what I like to say as well to people. It's good.
Yeah.
It's like you said, it's a lot of musicians have that sort of aversion to it, so it's nice to speak to someone else that feels like it.
I think everybody goes through a social media journey, but actually you do realize that it's this great, it can be this great tool, but it's figuring out how to kind of block it out, which I do not think I've figured out yet. But I'm being aware of it's the first sort of step, I guess.
Space where you once stood.
it's easier said than done to find yourself when there's nowhere left to run. Oh yes, it's easier said than done. Let go of your pride. Let me help you say goodbye. You were just a boy with a heavy mind, but it's easier said than done to find yourself when there's nowhere left to run. Oh yes, it's easier said than done. If you're gone for good, I'd just like to wish you well. You can't learn to love till you love yourself, but it's easier to find yourself when there's nowhere left to run. Oh yes, it's easier said than done to tell yourself it's okay to be lost a while. It's easier said than done.
The Alpha Sessions.
That actually came out when I was doing my road trip in America. So I remember it came out and I was kind of in the middle of nowhere and I was like, trying to like promote it, but I just didn't. That was very stressful and probably so annoying for the person I was road tripping with. But that one is a really special song because I wrote it about. It's about someone who's very special to me, who's not really so much in my life anymore, just for whatever reason, but it was someone who's gone through a difficult time and maybe could be a little bit lost, and I wanted to write a song about how it's easier said than done to tell people, give people advice and say all you have to do is this, to find yourself. All you've got to do is, meditate every morning, or like go for a walk, and or just get off your phone. But it's just, it's not that simple. Yeah, exactly. And so it was kind of being like, it's okay to admit that, that you're not okay, and that was, that's a special song. But yeah.
So I think last thing, how can people find you, support you?
So people can find me, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, most importantly, and Apple Music. And then I'm doing a big EP launch at the end of May. So there's going to be more details on that in the coming kind of week and a half on my social media. And then this summer, some festivals here and there. Playing at a festival called Slades, the Slades Festival, which is in July. Playing at Camp Carola, which is at Glastonbury, but it's a sort of camp that you have to get into. I've never been to Glastonbury, so that's not very helpful, but I'm sure that it's all there if you look it up. But that's really exciting.
Amazing.
And then a really lovely festival called the Late Spring Folk Festival, which, if anyone that loves folk music, it's going to be really lovely in Andover on the 25th of June. So
great stuff.
That's
Exciting.
going to be really good.
Well, it's been such a joy chatting with you today.
Thank you for having me.
The Alpha Sessions.